like to call to order. And first, we're going to review Administration Loyalty Oath to newly appointed Commissioner Dylan Mojica. Oh, roll call, yes.
Okay. So I have Commissioner Dylan Mojica,
Here.
Chairwoman Jan Chumley,
Here.
Commissioner Bodie Kervin,
Here.
and for the record, Bill Leister and Commissioner Ian Durden are excused, but we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next item, is the oath.
Okay. So Dylan, you get to walk down. I get to be photographer.
Okay, so this is Dylan Mojica, and council appointed Dylan to our Planning and Zoning Commission at the last council meeting. So thank you for your willingness to serve the City of Globe Planning and Zoning Commission. And we're going to... Oh. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Dylan, you have your oath, I think. It's easier when you have it in front of you because you have to repeat after me, and sometimes that's hard. So Dylan, just raise your right hand, and this is our loyalty oath that we'll administer tonight. So I, Dylan Mojica, do solemnly swear
I, Dylan Mojica, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and defend them against all enemies,
and defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission
discharge the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And if you'll just find that, I'll get that after.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Ready? Way to go, Dylan.
Thank you.
Way to read it out. All right, so the next thing we have is the public hearing and consideration of rezoning case Z 2104 to request to rezone the properties located at 2000 South Vuksanovich Drive and 1898 Holder Drive from the open space zoning district to R1 through 9 single-family residential zoning district.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman, Commissioners. Happy New Year. And thank you for considering this item this evening. Just a quick heads up, I'm sorry to not give you some prior notice like our last meeting or something like that. This agenda item came up very quickly, less than a month ago actually. And basically it was a situation where the applicant is trying to sell their home, and the buyers realized that the property that they were going to buy, a single family home, was located within the open space zoning district and had concerns, rightfully so. So anyway, the city prides themselves on wanting to keep our residents moving along and doing their business as they wish. So being able to quickly accelerate this rezoning will, I think, set a record in any rezoning I've ever been a part of. And for that, partly because this is a pretty benign, seemingly, and just a cleanup of our zoning map. I'm not too sure on the history, but I'll quickly jump in. As you mentioned, there's 2 lots involved and they're neighboring lots. For Dylan's sake, before I get into the details, I'll just quickly give you an overview of what's involved in a rezoning. So this evening, if the commission wishes to take action on this item, you'll be making a recommendation that's...
Did he just mute himself?
city council. Ultimately, city council approves city zoning map or our zoning ordinance or our subdivision code requires to be done by a ordinance with council approval or our legislative body's final approval. So you're making a recommendation this evening. Rezonings can come in two different ways. The city can go out and rezone property for its purposes, or people that own property can petition the city to rezone. And this is the latter. These two property owners would like to rezone their properties so that they are consistent with the use. So their zoning is consistent with the use of their land as it's been for decades. So when staff receives those applications, we review for compliance with the general plan and other adopted plans. For instance, this one's in the Northeast area plan. It's a specific plan and a specific program and plan and vision that was adopted back in 2010 for the Northeast area of the city. So we want to make sure that any rezoning proposals coming before the city are consistent with those adopted goals of the general plan and those other specific plans like the Northeast area plan. Make sure we're taking actions that are facilitating the accomplishment of the city's vision and goals. In doing so, we have to notify the neighbors. It's actually a statutory requirement, but all property owners within 300 feet typically. Also, we hold a meeting, which we held, and I'll get to that briefly, with the neighbors. And then it requires publication in the newspaper, posting on the site, and as I mentioned, mailing to all the neighbors, advertising this, and then, like I mentioned, adopted by the ordinance. So that's the rezoning procedure in a nutshell. Here's the existing zoning map of the city. You can see the site. It's these two parcels adjacent to one another, and they're large. I think they in total consist of about 17 or 19 acres right in that area. This large parcel to the north, and the green area is open space. And you see OS, that's an acronym for open space. This property is zoned, is owned by Cypress Mining, Dodge Phelps. And a lot of the mining company's land is zoned open space. And I think that maybe the mining zoning at one time may have bled into these two privately owned properties. But it's been a surprise to both the property owners who have been there a long time and the families who have sold them that property have been there even longer and were unaware of this. This area, by the way, was annexed in, I believe, around 1989. This adjacent property, the yellow, is R19. That's R stands for residential, 1 is single family, and the -9 or 9 is a 9,000 square foot lot minimum. And that's what obviously the majority of this land, which is used as residential or for basically residential lots, has been zoned for some time. I believe these two lots probably were a similar zoning at one time, and prior to the 2007 zoning map that I have, must have changed at some point to this open space. So anyway, you can see these lots scattered. I will, the red is C2, and all along our highways, here's the Highway 60, here's the ADOT street yard. Basically, this is down here on the bottom of the screen in the red is the Dream Manor and their access road. Here's Vuksanovich Drive, which is the only access to the Vuksanovich family residence here, and it's the only residence on that drive. Over here, Mr. Rice, Clarence Rice, who is in contract to sell his property, takes access off of South Holder Drive, right up through here. And it looks like that road, Holder Drive, also eventually gets up to the Vuksanovich property as well. So in a nutshell, that's what's going on surrounding the property. I'll take you to a blow up. Here would be the Vuksanovich parcel. Like I said, it's probably 17 acres, I believe, or 15. His single family home. And then Mr. Rice's home, also an applicant right here with their access. And then Mr. Frank Ty next door, who still is also living there and not already zoned correctly. Are there any questions on these details while I have the maps up? Very good. It's pretty straightforward.
Dana, it doesn't look like we have any questions yet.
Very good, thank you. Regarding public outreach and comment, yesterday we held the required citizen review meeting at the property, or at Holder Drive, basically. No one showed up. I think there were only 2 property owners that were notified because of the low density and minimal number of parcels in this area. That's all that was required. We didn't expect to receive opposition, by the way. No attendees, still haven't received any written responses to our advertisements. And then after we get done with our discussion tonight, part of the rezoning process is for the chairwoman to strike her gavel and open up a public hearing. Allow anybody the opportunity to speak. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak on it, once that they've spoke, strike the gavel, close the public hearing, and then you finish your discussion and or make a motion on this item. And
Okay,
then
Dana, real quick.
yes.
How many people did you notify about this change?
Like I said, it was required, well, besides placing an advertisement in the newspaper,
Yes.
so that's been done. So whoever reads the newspaper or the legal section would have ran into that. Otherwise, it would have been Cypress Mine. I'll go back. It would have been Cypress Mines, Mr. Ty. This property is JT Morning Glories. And I've got a better exhibit, actually, I can show you. JT Morning Glory owns all of this land. These lots are the holders. And then Vuksanovich also owns this parcel, and this is BLM. So we notified BLM, Cypress Mines, Mr. Ty, Mrs. Morning Glory, the Vuksanovich family, and that's it. That's everything within 300 feet.
Okay. And of those people, you're saying how many showed up to the meeting?
0. Nobody showed up, and that's not uncommon.
Okay, so you're saying 0 people showed up?
Correct. And keep in mind, when we send them the invitation, we explain what the request is. So we would have explained, this is a cleanup. These properties were developed as single-family homes. However, today they're located in an open space zoning district. Since go ahead and let you finish if you have any further questions, but I can explain a little more
Okay. Well, we
on
might
why
have-
this
we
is
might have more
consequential.
questions. I'm just, let's see here. Dylan Mojica, you have any questions for Dana?
At the moment, I do not.
All right, well, if you do, you speak.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for Dana?
I do not.
All right. So Dana, at the present time, we do not have questions for you. I'm going to go ahead and open it to the floor.
Excellent. And quickly, I'll just explain what the consequence is to having this situation, and why the buyer needed this. Is if they wanted to make improvements to the property that expand the single family use, like add a garage or add an addition to the home, today, as it's zoned open space, it's a legal non-conforming use of the land. The open space zoning district doesn't allow single family homes. So we couldn't issue a permit for them to expand that legal non-conforming use. That's the consequence. So when somebody's buying the property, they say, wait a minute, we want to do things to the property, and I can't. So that's the situation. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
And the applicant is in the audience if you have any questions.
All righty. I'm going to go ahead and open it to the floor, and we will see if there's any
Open.
questions.
And open the public hearing.
Yes.
We're recording, so I can hear you.
Hello, my name's Diane Holder. I live on Holder Drive as well, so I'm a neighbor to Mr. Rice's property. And so I am speaking right now as his listing agent, as his realtor. I work for Kachina Properties. So as soon as we listed his house, we had a potential buyer. And as Dana said, there became a concern because that potential buyer had wanted to build a detached garage, and they found that the zoning is open space, so they never could purchase a building permit to either add on to the house or, you know, build a garage. So, so that became a concern, and that therefore that buyer, you know, wasn't going to purchase the home unless the zoning can be changed. So, so it affects the home, it affects the property because it's supposed to be residential. It already has a single-family home on it. So now, speaking as the neighbor and a member of the family who this house has been and the property has been in our family, my husband's family, for over 50 years. So his grandparents is who had that house built, so a building permit was issued from the city for them to build that house. That house was R1-9 residential when they bought that building permit, when they built that house. Then that house was sold to their daughter, and then after they passed away, we bought that house. So then that house went into my husband and my name. So then Mr. Rice bought it from us. So during this whole time, this house was residential. This property was residential. Somewhere, I don't know where, we looked at the maps, and this buyer looked at the city maps and found that it was changed to open space. The owner of the property and house was never notified that the city somehow changed their zoning. So whenever that open space whenever it became open space, not even the owners of the property knew that happened. So this basically is asking for a rezone just to correct it back to what it has always been and what it needs to be. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do not have questions, but just to make sure I understand that you're saying that you want this switch from open space to R1-9, what it used to be.
Yes, and it has a site-built home on it right now, so you could have never built a house on it if it was open space. And like I said, anybody who purchases it, it's going to be hard to sell because they realize that it's open space and they can never add on, they can never build a garage. It's not usable anymore.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Any questions?
Ms. Holder, I just wanted to ask, do you see any negatives to this? Does it sound like there's really any, you know, converting to that, to residential?
Absolutely not, because that's what it always has been. None of us have any clue how or when it got changed. It definitely did not go through the procedure that we're going through right now when they changed it to open space. I'm not sure if it just got switched on a map on an accident, because nobody out there was ever notified. Not even the owner to the house was notified that it was changed. So, and also that neighborhood meeting yesterday, my husband and I showed up, Mr. Rice showed up early also, the Gibsons showed up, not because any of us opposed it. We just wanted to all be there and discuss it. But so those are the people who showed up, and we're all not against it. We all want to see it rezoned to R1-9 where it needs to be and where it always was.
Everyone's in unison.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dylan, do you have any questions for her?
No.
Okay.
Chairwoman, if there are no further audience members.
We do have another one. Thank you. Just a minute.
Hey Dana, this is Travis Holder, also a resident at Holder Drive, and my wife pretty much said everything. That's my wife Diane. I just wanted to add just a couple little things. I've been involved in zoning for lots of years, and I just want to reiterate what she said. If this property was legally rezoned to open space, the city would have to have a paper trail. They would have to have a meeting. They'd have to have all kinds of stuff that never happened. So I can tell you without a doubt, this property was never zoned open space in my lifetime. It's always been residential, R1-9. Before it came to the city, there could have been another residential designation because the county and the city is a little bit different. But it's always been residential, and it's all, you know, it was either R1-9 or R1-6. And so, as she said, everybody out there that we know of obviously wants this to be the way it was supposed to be. So really, you guys aren't making any kind of change. You guys are just putting it back to the way it should be. And like I said, really, the city, if pressed, would have to show how this was changed, because this absolutely was not open space, ever. Just over the hill was, we know that. And like she said, probably a map got transposed or something like that, but it absolutely was never open space, and it was never intended to be. So,
All right, thank you, Mr. Holder.
thank you. And Mr. Rice is here too. If anybody has questions for him, he's willing to, but I think he doesn't have necessarily anything to say unless you guys have questions for him.
Okay. I'm sorry, did you have any questions for Mr. Holder?
No, not at the moment.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Holder?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Thank you.
Sorry.
My name is Leilani Gibson, and I'm also a resident out on Holder Drive. And I just want to back up what they have already said. We built our house in '93 out there, and at the time, Kendrick Holder would show up to our house every day and watch our house being built. And we would sit there and talk, and he liked our builder so much that he decided to build a new house. As soon as ours was done, then he started building his house. We had to get all of the permits for residential and to build and all of that, the same as he did. And so how this ever got changed to open space is just a real mystery to us, except that that's how Chris Colopy did things. But also Vuksanovich property has a residence there, and theirs is not open space either. So, yeah, we don't know how any of that happened. None of us were notified, and we've all been out there, you know, since '93 and before. So it really needs to be changed to the correct thing, and should have never been changed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ms. Gibson. No questions?
No questions?
All right. Are there any other comments or concerns that want to be brought up?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, great.
I'm Clarence Rice, and I'm the owner of that parcel. And I'm trying to sell it, and there's no way I can sell it with an open space, which it shouldn't be. And I think that you should change the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana, is there any sign of how it got changed out of R19?
There is not, Chairwoman, Commissioners, whenever we see a situation like this, I'm aware of another one elsewhere in the community. I'm sure there's a handful, if not several, corners of the community. But when we run into a situation like this, I turn over every possible stone I can, because this process is obviously cumbersome, and Clarence wasn't the happiest guy in the world to talk to last month. So we really work hard to make sure, look for something, anything. As a matter of fact, we pulled the building permit. We actually had the record of the building permit from 1994 for this property, but unfortunately, zoning was not filled out on that application, which isn't uncommon. Hopefully it'll be uncommon in the future, since we have a new online permitting system and other ways to keep records, but the city doesn't have the broadest book of record earlier or, in the 90s, 80s, in that period. So if I can't find anything to hang my hat on, I want to go through that legal process to make sure that it's done correctly and there's a paper trail. And then we'll update the maps accordingly after that happens. But I do make every attempt to not come through this process if it's absolutely not necessary.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Are there any other questions, concerns that want to be brought before we take this to a vote?
Chairwoman Shumway, if we're done with the public hearing, strike your gavel and say we're now closing the public hearing, and then move forward with your discussion.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question, comment? All right, well, we are going to close the public hearing. And we'll go ahead and move forward and take this to a proposal, if anyone has a proposal.
Anybody like to make a motion?
Anyone want to make a motion? Either one of you two.
Madam Chairwoman, I would like to make a motion on the rezoning case Z-21-04 to approve that and ask council to approve this rezoning for this property.
All right. Does anyone want to second that motion?
I second that motion.
All right, great. So we have a motion to approve the rezoning of this Z21-04 to R19, from open space to R19. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote.
I approve.
You vote?
I approve.
And I approve, and it is passed to be rezoned to R1-9.
So thank you very much, commissioners.
And thank you, Dana, for how you laid things out so well here for us.
Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion we adjourn the meeting, Madam Chairwoman.
I second that motion.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote.
I vote adjourn.
Okay,
Aye.
and meeting is adjourned.
Passes.